Hey there, before this super brief appendix, I want to cut in with a super brief call to action. If you would like to support this show and the network around it, go to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv. A couple of bucks a month gets you some pretty cool stuff like our Slack channel, backer blogs. You can participate in polls for Watch Out for Fireballs, all of that cool stuff, and the rewards only get better from there. So go to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv to kick us a couple of bucks a month and really, really help us out. And we appreciate everybody who has done that.
Some of our landings were desperate adventures. We are now prepared to meet the inevitable counterattacks with power and with confidence.
My name is Gary Butterfield.
My name is Kole Ross.
And you're listening to Bonfireside Chat. It is an Appendix favorite.
Yes. And this week we are reading your responses to Shadow Tower Abyss.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know why we were surprised that we didn't get a lot of responses, given that this game never came out. But we didn't get a whole lot, but the ones that we did get, we appreciate. So Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm. So I'll get us started with Gordon, who writes in via contact, saying, after about an hour of trying to get the game to run and the controls configured, I wasn't disposed to like the game. Then I encountered the first enemy, some kind of bouncing goblin with an anus mouth. Flailing around, I accidentally cut off both of his arms. Then I pulled out a gun and shot his head clean off while he hobbled away. Like a proper modern handgun. What a goddamn game. This blend of modern artifacts in a fantasy world gives it all a feeling of wrongness that's been missing from the genre for a while. Enemy design doesn't quite reach the splendorous insanity of the first game, but I'd like to make a quick shout out to the Headless Bandersnatch Legionnaires. Yep, we love those too.
Love those guys.
Yeah.
God bless.
Yep. Gordon continues, sadly the game takes an absolute nosedive in the last few levels and kind of forgets about dismemberment, but the journey there was memorable and is clearly on the trajectory that eventually leads to Dark Souls. In short, a fascinating piece of history with enough interesting beats to mostly stand up today. And remember, the best magic is a gun.
That is true.
Yeah.
That's true. It's when you think about this and compared to Bloodborne, like, because Bloodborne has guns as well, as we know, but they are not, they're not guns. Like something I said a lot during the Bloodborne season is that it's amazing that there's so little range combat in a game where every character starts with a gun.
Yep.
And this is a more like that is like a not very realistic take on guns. Mm-hmm. And maybe I wonder if that was a lesson learned from this.
Oh yeah.
Where like they were just like, if we actually give. Like, we want to give them a gun because we want this kind of aesthetic. If we actually give them guns, it will be like a Shadow Tower Abyss situation where they just mow down everything.
It'll break. It'll blow a hole through everything we designed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thanks, Gordon. Mm-hmm. Lotus says via contact, I cannot believe how fucking good Shadow Tower Abyss is what I said when I first played it, which was a while ago. It's pretty much my favorite non-Soulsborne, non-Metal Wolf Chaos From game. I've been playing it because you guys are going to be covering it, and also because I never actually got around to finishing it, despite how much I enjoy it. The wonderfully haunting opening with the Japanese grandpa intoning on, the pretty damn solid sound design that makes the lack of music work so much better than the PlayStation 1 Shadow Tower, the massive combat improvements by including dismemberment, multiple types of guns, and magic that can all be quickly accessed is all great. I love how the item economy is more fleshed out and how it's actually worth it to buy weapons and shit, since so many of them have special properties that may or may not come in useful. Never mind the fact that it's even more of a proto-Demon Souls than pretty much all of FromSoft's other first-person adventure RPGs. Like, now that the Souls franchise is ending with Dark Souls 3, if only for a time, I really hope FromSoft revives the Shadow Tower IP. A first-person action RPG made by the modern FromSoft with Shadow Tower's overall weirdness would be fantastic, like an infinitely better version of Dark Messiah of Might and Magic. That would be incredible. I would love a return, even like Shadow Tower or even Kingsfield. Mm-hmm. But like from doing, okay, we've done Dark Souls, we still want to do something with that and go back to these first person games. Mm-hmm. And like Dark Messiah and Might and Magic, or even like, a gameplay focused Bethesda style thing, like would be really cool.
Yeah.
Like I'm exploring those worlds. Like I'm not an immersion chaser, as far as games go. Like I will read and get my immersion that way, you plebeians. But I would love a first person, like to explore those kind of environments in a first person perspective at least once.
Yeah.
That would be super cool. So like Shadow Tower 3 with the tanks and whatever, bring it. I'd be way into that.
Yeah, I'd be down. I would like for them to continue that. Like, just take the lessons that they've learned and, just apply it. Like, make the world feel big, right? Because things look and feel different when you're in first person. Like, I love the Souls games, and, like, as third person action RPGs, they are top of the pops, obviously. But to see what they could do with that, I'm not sure what is keeping them away, aside from maybe just wanting to distinguish themselves. But that would be a way for them to pivot back now that everybody is chasing Dark Souls. Like, guess what? Now we're first person again.
Yeah, I love this idea of there being people on From staff who just like really love these old first person games and like just being like, no, I think we're going to do this. Yeah. And it's not like people would joke about it, and people joke about these games as if they're like somehow commercial suicide or anything. But we play first person RPGs all the time. Yeah, like that's a thing. So like doing a FromSoft, there's no reason why they couldn't do it. Yeah. Or give it a shot. Yeah. And I would be way into that.
Yep. I mean, like, a lot of the people are still around, who made this, right? Yeah. So it's not unforeseen. It's not out of the realm of possibility that somebody there still harbors affection for this. Would it have the Miyazaki touch?
Well, that's the question. That's what determines its overall value. Yeah. Also, like, I like Dark Messiah of Might and Magic a lot. Like, even if it was we could use more of those. Like, that's a really good game. So, yeah.
So thank you, both of you, for writing in about Shadow Tower Abyss. Again, if you're listening to this, I encourage everybody to go and play this game. We might not be taking responses about it, but more people should experience it.
I think so too.
So offhandedly, in one of the previous episodes here, we talked about doing a tight 5 on Slashy Souls, just because people have asked about our take. Slashy Souls is the free-to-play game that was developed by somebody and published by GameStop.
Yes, GameStop. Yeah. I like to have my games published by the same company that sells me games. Yeah. That makes sense. So people joked about it. It was a big joke for a while. Like, hey, when are you guys going to do a whole season on that? But I think in like leaner times, and if the game were better, I could almost see us doing an episode on it. Oh yeah, because we've never done like a WAF or anything on an Endless Runner. It is a genre that I don't think is without value. Right. Like, I will still to this day fire up like Cannibalt. Yeah. From time to time. Like, that's a good game.
I love Cannibalt on my Apple TV.
Yeah. Yeah. Or even like Tiny Wings, which is not quite an Endless Runner. Like, it has an end, but it's kind of a similar idea. Yeah. It's really good. But Slashy Souls ended up being terrible.
Oh, just god awful.
Yeah, it's one of the worst iOS games I've ever played. And the reason it's so bad is because it uses these swipe controls to kind of emulate slashing and moving that are imprecise and shitty. Yes. And like we talked about this on other shows and the like, but like to make a game work with a touchscreen, it's like, one, you have to design it around a touchscreen, and then two, like when I play a game that works well on the touchscreen, it's very rare that I'm like, this wouldn't work better on a controller. Like, it can be non-intrusive, right? Like, there's nothing wrong with playing 80 Days with a touchscreen. That works just fine. Yeah. If I was playing with a mouse, it would work just fine too. Yeah. It doesn't work better with a touchscreen.
It feels so artificial here. Like, it feels like, it's difficult. Like, you can't really get anywhere because like your intention doesn't translate into action on the part of your character.
Yes, which is so frustrating because that's the exact opposite of what Dark Souls tries to do. Like in Dark Souls, like, it always feels like your fault. Here, I'm constantly putting in inputs that don't work. And it sucks too, because like the kind of the music and the way it looks.
Oh, I love the way it looks.
Yeah, I'm into it. It looks cool. I'm even like, even if you just kind of took all the elements, I'm not bothered by the fact that you fight like multiple Nidos. No. As like little mini bosses. Like, I'm not an idiot. I don't get bothered by that kind of pedantry. But it's just not fun to fight multiple Nidos.
No, it's not fun to fight multiple Nidos when they're surrounded by skeletons that you cannot attack and traps that you cannot jump over.
Yeah, which, I mean, you try to, you're putting in inputs, just nothing happens. Yeah. It is just, it just doesn't work. And like, compare it to Fallout Shelter, right? Which, like, Fallout Shelter is kind of has some free-to-play garbage in it, but you can play it without spending any money and it works. Like Fallout Shelter is actually like kind of a fun little sim game.
Yeah.
You know, it's like the base building kind of part of XCOM or something like that, where you're digging through the earth and kind of doing these things, and it works and it's fun. And that's a free like adver game. You know, that's just like a free game that came out with a big release to be fun and free. This is like the monkey's paw version of that. Like, I would like a good little tiny. I can handle like a little guiding experience to go with my souls because I like souls.
Yeah.
You know, I would have been into that. Even like Firelink Manager 20,000. You know, like just like you're trying to attract different merchants and stuff. Like I could have got into that.
Yeah. This feels like a trifle, and I could have gotten all of the enjoyment that I got out of it by like looking at some really cool Dark Souls pixel art.
Yeah. Or listening to a reasonably, okay, cool little chiptune.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a real bummer. I didn't get too far. I never got to like if there's a second serious biome
right
to it. I think Allison played it kind of significantly for a little while. But I did not. And I've watched some like YouTubes of it to see if anybody has really gotten very far in it. And the last time I looked, which was when the game was kind of part of the conversation, nobody had, because this has kind of universally been shat on. Yeah. And people really hate it with good cause.
And it's proof that From should be boycotted.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing that we're dancing around. It doesn't have the Miyazaki touch.
Yep.
So if it doesn't have that, if it ain't got that touch,
Garrett,
I don't want it.
I think that like Dark Souls 3 is going to have a bigger backlash than Mass Effect 3.
I saw that. I'm curious about that. Like, it was based on the release or based on what exactly?
I think that the release has soured the narrative, and I think that if this is to be a conclusion, I mean, nobody can be made happy by it. It's just you can't make anybody happy with it. You can't.
The thing that wasn't, so I don't know Mass Effect 3, but my understanding of the reason why there was that backlash isn't because like just nobody could be happy. It was because like the series built itself as this like your choices matter kind of thing. And it spent like 3 really, really long games emphasizing that, and then undercut it in the end. Is that accurate or not? Like I haven't played, so I'm not saying that. That's just my secondhand understanding.
It undercuts it just a little bit. From to my like, yes, it is not as good as it was, as it could have been, but like I think that I don't know, like something in my gut, maybe it's just anxiety, makes me think that we're going to fall into a similar situation.
I'll be curious. I mean, I think that the stuff with the release will get brushed over. I think that people are really mad about it right now, but once they have the game in their hand, that will go away. You'll be okay playing it. Like, it is a botched release. It is stupid to do it the way that they did it. Yeah. And it's frustrating and makes things, makes our lives harder, and it's going to make it way harder to avoid having shit spoiled for us. And it's really annoying. Yeah. But I don't know if, and people who, I feel like annoyed is the proper response to that. People who feel something stronger than being annoyed, I think that they eventually will get downgraded to annoyed. Yeah. But if the game if it like lands, like gamers are very fickle and like obsessed with things that don't matter a lot of the time. So like, let's say like if it looks as good as it did in the previews, like that's gonna salve over like a lot of wounds. Yeah. I don't know. I could see it going that way. I don't have that feeling of dread. Yeah. Like, I think it's going to be good. Like I think we're going to like it. If it's as good as Dark Souls 2, I will be happy. Yep. Like that's a really good game. But that is, we have seen that opinion and that stance makes our life hell. Yeah. Like my point just being that like when I say like I think it will be good, like that's my bar for good. So I definitely think it will be good. Oh yeah. I think it will probably be more fan friendly than that. Yeah. And not I don't know what I'm basing that on. Just based on it is possible that because they did try to, there's nothing that from game to game that shows that they're revising things based on fan feedback, but it happened in the middle of Dark Souls 2 where they were like, oh, this isn't good enough, we have to do better. Yep. So to me, and then they patched it kind of over a lot of that stuff with Scholar, which that shows me that they at least have learned from some of the things that people don't like about Dark Souls 2. So I'm hoping that they apply those lessons to Dark Souls 3. Yeah. And can see them doing it. Like there will be a backlash because there's a backlash against everything. But I don't know if it'll be that intense. Yeah. So we'll see. Just have a bad feeling. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. We shall see. I mean, I am at this point, I just like can't wait to play it. So I'm kind of blinded by that. Blinded by anticipation. Yeah. I have muted so many people and people who I like just because they won't shut up about things that probably make me seem like a crazy person. Like Vivian, our friend and former, kind of show alum, said something that was about a mechanical thing that is so minor on Facebook, but I'm like, oh, I can't talk to you right now because I would, even though that's the most minor thing in the world, and I'm sure this makes me seem insane, like I just don't want to accidentally read something.
Yeah.
I've like unsubscribed from like half the YouTube accounts I subscribe to.
Like at this point, like thumbnails have spoiled a lot for me.
Yeah, I just don't want to see it. And like, I get that I'm being the crazy one.
This is our choice. This is our choice, right?
It's our choice.
Call us a baby if you want.
And it's part of that botched release. So like, that's part of why it's happening, is because a lot of people have access to the game before they're supposed to. But it is, I don't know. I guess maybe the reason why I'm not thinking about the backlash in those same terms too is that I've been kind of keeping Dark Souls 3 out of my mind.
Yeah.
If I stoke my game boner too much, I'm going to want to, see that eye, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I'm gonna want to look at some trailers and look at some like non-spoilery reviews and stuff. But I don't want that.
No.
So I've just kind of been like, Dark Souls 3 doesn't exist for another 3 weeks. Right now I've really got to play Portal 2 and Warcraft 3.
Yeah.
That's why I'm keeping my head down, playing old games.
Yep. I had one area name spoiled for me, and it has already crystallized a lot of it in my head. And I just I wish that like somebody hadn't spoken that word to me.
I had a boss concept, or like a non, like the same way you could describe. So like there's the Last Giant. He's called the Last Giant. If you had called him like the final adversary or something like that, or the final Titan. Yeah. Somebody gave me I had the equivalent of that kind of spoiled for me. And then that minor, and it's so minor. Like the things I know about this game are like, I've seen the cover. I know the name of the world. I won't tell you, but I know the name of the world that got spoiled for me because of a YouTube thing. And it's just like, stop.
Yeah.
It is driving me crazy. I understand it's just me. I understand we're being babies, but and that it's a Dark Souls podcast, and people could reasonably expect us, and we talked about this when Bloodborne was coming out, could reasonably expect us to be like a source for news and shit.
Yeah.
Like, hey, we're going to speculate and tell you what we think is going to happen. And people could want that from a Dark Souls podcast. But I just don't have any interest in giving that.
It's not us. Like,
yeah,
we are more about the post. Like, we're after the fact as opposed to ahead of it. And the bad on us for making that. Well, it wasn't even a choice. It's just something we came into naturally.
Yeah. I never want to be responsible for news.
Right.
Like news and previews are kind of useless, I think. Because what's the point of like getting your game boner all stoked up?
I mean, it'll just turn green and fall off.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I've had a game boner for a long time before, and it's not good. To get that sweet game release. You have to wait for full release.
Yep.
That's the Bonfire Side Chat method.
Yeah.
Wait, don't fucking edge yourself into stories from Edge. And
if anybody thinks that this is weird that we're talking about this a week before it releases, not even that, actually. Like, when this episode comes out, when this appendix comes out, like it'll be here with like 3 days. We're like 3 days out now. But
we're recording it like a couple days after the Japanese version came out, and people are able to play it ahead of time by downloading Xbox Bucks.
Yes.
From the Japanese Xbox store or something like that.
Yeah. And so if we wanted to do our due diligence, we would just go and buy Xboxes and then play it early so we could scoop the curve. But no.
Well, one of the things that's true too, and in peeking under the kimono, is that we tried to get advanced copies of it, which and I didn't try very hard. So it's like, it's not, shade at anybody who didn't give us those copies, but I understand why they wouldn't, because we would be like, hey, we're going to do this thing. And they're like, oh, we would give you an advanced copy because we think you're going to market it for us and get people to stoke their game boners. And we'd be like, nope, it would help us plan and feel better and avoid spoilers. And then we would just talk about it the way we normally do once everybody can play along. Cause like, I'd much rather be on the ground for that stuff. Like, I don't want to have that kind of privilege, I think.
Yeah.
I'm more interested in the conversation with everybody than kind of the speculation and the weird, really essentially those elites. I'm a real, I'm not into those leftist elites.
No, just we don't want to be a part of the Upper Souls community.
No, Ivory Tower. I mean, Upper Souls community, but not like there's always an upper. There's like a floating cloud above the tower that we're on.
Yeah,
where your YouTubers and streamers are at. And but anyway, Slash Souls is garbage. Dark Souls 3 will be good. And even if, but you know what, you're talking about that backlash. If it is like as good as Dark Souls 2 or a little bit worse, and people are whining about it, there's a tiny part of me that's going to be kind of into that. Like it's going to be annoying, but part of me is just going to be like, you shitheads. Like,
Yep.
no offense to anybody who's listening. I'm not calling you specifically a shithead. Like, you probably haven't played it, but like, just like gamers, come on, come on.
Like, yeah, this is you are chasing good talent and good ideas out of the market.
Yeah, I can imagine. I'm not a Mass Effect guy, but I can imagine that being really frustrating.
Yeah,
because like, even if the thing that I heard that ruined the ending of that is true, that wouldn't have ruined the game for me either.
Oh no, because
like that's not like, if I think about like the game series, I like that emphasized choice. When they take it away at the end, which happens in like every Telltale game, for example, is a series I like, that does not invalidate everything that came before it.
Right. Yeah, and that's kind of my basic argument, that like a bad ending won't ruin an overall experience. Like it definitely factors in like to the thing as a whole, but like you can't live that way.
Well, and the thing we're talking about with Mass Effect isn't even a bad ending. It's just like an ending. Again, this is all hearsay, so it doesn't make any sense. But my understanding is just that it doesn't take into account all the choices that you made leading up to it.
It's just pointless. Well, 3 takes all of the entire experience of 3 is seeing the choices from the first 2 being paid off. So the fact that it doesn't play into what happens in the last 20 minutes is what people got upset about.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah. So hopefully we've called enough people shitheads and ridiculous to
hopefully we're gonna make people good and angry on the eve of our Dark Souls 3 extravaganza.
That's not really what we want. We just had time to kill because we had a short appendix.
Yep. No, we definitely don't want to alienate people, but like, I don't know, maybe it's the distance. Maybe people could say you guys are aloof because you haven't been down in the shit. You haven't engaged with it. You're not riled up like we are. But like, yeah, that is entirely by choice and by design. I am not on Twitter. I am not looking at Reddit. I don't go to YouTube, except now to just like listen to Black Star on repeat. And that's just
it's a good song.
Yeah, that's just a thing that I keep in my bookmark bar so I can listen to it and watch that video. So like I am effectively 100% disengaged.
Yeah. It is. I'm not quite there. I'm on all those things, but I have been very, very liberal with the mute button, aka the gentleman's block, whenever that comes up, and down to organizations too, like all the major news outlets. I have muted, so if somebody is going to like retweet something from Kotaku, I'm not going to see it. Yeah.
Like when I'm on a site, like when I'm on the front page of Polygon, I think that like I have recognized what the color palette is for Dark Souls 3, and so my eyes just kind of gloss over.
Yeah.
they
unfocus. Like, I can't look at this now.
They unfocus when I see that gray and yellow. Yeah.
Yep. It's going to be sweet though.
Yeah.
Yep. We're saving ourselves for marriage. That's what this whole thing is a metaphor for.
Kind of. Yeah.
Yeah, somebody like Billy Joel needs to come and sing "Only the Good Die Young" to convince us to give up our chastity.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, seriously, as you're listening to this, we have like 2 days.
Yeah, and hopefully by that time that this actually comes out, I will still not know anything. Yeah. And if somebody spoils it for me, I will complain about it and yell at them on Twitter. And you'll have heard about it by the time this comes out. So please don't do that. Yeah. Anyway. If you like this time filling a little bit at the end of this, it's not really time filling. We're just chatting about Souls. Yeah. If you like this show and you want to support us, now is a great time to do it because Dark Souls 3 is coming out.
Yes.
By now, probably we've announced the first guest. That's something that like I'm going to try to line up the first one in advance if I can, and then kind of move from there after we played it. So hopefully we've announced it by then. Yeah. But we need your support during this time. So ratings and reviews, and then also financial support through Patreon is all very helpful.
Yeah. Shout us from the mountaintops. Like we are very hesitant to promote ourselves, but word of mouth is the best resource that we have. So if somebody is, if you know somebody who is getting interested in the Souls series, because of this high profile release, point them our way. And we would be happy to have anybody and everybody because these new releases are always, it's a big fun for the whole community. And it's a great opportunity for us to grow.
And I can't, I've stressed this before, I'll stress that again. On Patreon, if you give us $2, you get to join our Slack channel. Slack, if you don't know what that is, I didn't know what it was either. It is a message board or chat room essentially. Yeah. And that will be a very good place to talk about Souls shit. Yes. A bunch of people who are real serious Soulsters are on there. So like people we've had on the show, like Allison and Jeremy Greer and the like are on there. Emily Bracken, who is the person who found the Winter Lantern doll connection and Bloodborne. She's on there. There's a lot of like super cool people who know a lot of shit about Souls.
Yeah.
Who support us and who are going to be on there. It is a very good community. I feel confident in saying that it will be the most civil and fun place to talk about this stuff.
Yeah.
You know, like Reddit will probably get more scoops.
Yes.
But this will be the most, if you don't like people yelling at you to get good, for not being good at the game, like this is the most supportive, and it will be like a co-op paradise.
Yeah.
Like if you need help, there will be people like almost literally 24/7 to help you with bosses.
Yeah.
Has been my experience watching that channel. So it is a very good place to be, and it is a place you're going to want to be for Dark Souls 3, and it is cheap to be there. Yeah. It's $24 a year. Yeah. So that's nothing.
Yeah. We're very proud of our community, and we'd love for you to be a part of it.
Yeah, a year, $24 a year,
a year.
That's a long time. Yeah, so we that would be awesome, and if you will get something out of it as well.
Yeah,
yeah. So thanks everybody.
We
not
appreciate
much
it.
in the way of deleted scenes, I don't think.
Not really. No, we just talked business and stuff.
Yep. So yeah, thanks, and we will see you next week with Dark Souls 3.
Holy shit,
it's crazy. Yeah,
it feels weird saying it now.
Yeah, Umbasa.
Umbasa.
And we all pray that we will have far more soon